911, what's your emergency?
I'm freaking out. I can't stop watching these videos. This guy won't let me turn it off.
Sir, what are you talking about?
He's this big bald guy. He's raising his hands up in the shape of horns. What is that about?
Oh boy, we've got a code 666.
What the hell is that?
Mother, man.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? Doing some live action here today. A beautiful summer day, looks like outside. Hopefully, it's nice where you guys are, and see a few people here early. Voice of Astrology, Transport to Terror. I like that name. Is that a channel out here that with that name? That's a cool name. What do you do? Transport to Terror. Okay, Kelly Porter. Welcome to the live. Glad you caught it. Seashells. Oh, now they're starting to come in quick. Just a girl. DW. C4T4 attack. Very cool. Yeah, it's perfect timing today. The Yankee game just got over with, and I'm sure anybody that's not a Yankee fan's like rolling their eyes. I see Donna's rolling in here. Donna knows what's up. But Yankee game just finished. Yankees won. Nice coming into a. So the guys timed it just right. I asked them to be done with the game right before my live started, and they were nice enough to oblige. So thank you to the Yankees. But no, hopefully you're enjoying some baseball this summer. I took a break from it for a couple of years, and I'm glad to be back. It's a lot of fun watching the Yankees play again. As I said, I was born and grew up in my little years in the Bronx, so the team of choice right there. Very good. We got some good stuff to chat about today. Of course, all Idaho 4. I wanted to get into with you guys the whole Judge Hippler and this alternative perpetrator stuff. Just did a live or a recorded video on the subject. If you saw it earlier or last night, I put it up late last night, and if you haven't seen that, there's some more info maybe on there for you. But we're going to cover it here. Going to get into it. I know other channels are doing it, but hey, I want to make sure I weigh in on what I think because it's important. I mean, honestly, think about it. The last 2.5 years, the YouTube true crime community has been basically feeding the defense one suspect after another of people that are suspicious as all hell in this case. And finally, we feel like, okay, here we go. There's a few of them at least that are catching something, and we get a decision we didn't want. So we're going to talk about that, but it's just bogus for sure. And what's up, Michelle? Good to see you. Everybody coming on in. But so we'll talk about that. I also wanted to talk about who the alternative perpetrators were in your book. And I'd like to talk about it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot that don't maybe weigh in on it, and then you feel like you want to at least voice your opinion. Who do you think's in that last 4 group? We know one of them's a completely person we didn't even know about, but the other 3 very, very suspicious. So yeah, somebody's saying hit that like. So hell yeah, that's 12 or 1-2, whatever the case. Of course, I used to play in low 12. That was back in the day. Did 18 years in low 12. That was a good time. So yeah, we did. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to get into some other things. Um, yes, Glenn, this is live right at the beginning. We are starting it right now, buddy. Um, and so yeah, so we get some 1, 2. Okay, that's cool too. That's cool too. So so hello, Jody. So we got some people piling in here. That's awesome. But let me see here. I got a list of some stuff. Um, oh, I wanted to talk about Discord. I've been talking to Lucky quite a bit here lately about his Discord. He's talking about how much he loves it, and so that's super cool. And I want to try to get more out there to you guys as much as possible, and grow our community. So if a lot of people are using Discord, we might pick up some new friends along the way. And if you're into Discord, that's even cooler because you could help spread the word as well. But I have set up a Murder Metal Mayhem Discord, um, and we will be doing some stuff with it. I want to try thinking about maybe doing an after party vibe like Devil's Advocates does, where they do like a live and then meet afterwards in the Discord room. And if you're not familiar with Discord, that was the first time I used it. Was in a live um, with the guys in Devil's Advocates, but went on there and you're basically like the Brady Bunch, but you could see people or you could have an avatar, and then everybody just talks. So it's not a chat. There is a chat too in it, but if you want to be in the talking part of the chat, you're just up there just chatting with everybody. And I don't know, because I haven't gotten into this part of it, if I'm the one that sets up how many people can be in that live chat like that. And I think there might be a special invite too. I like I said, I'm very new to this, but I'm hoping by this time next week I'll have a full schedule of what we're going to do, and then maybe I'll do a daytime one and then a nighttime one. This way we can catch people in different time zones doing their thing in other countries, and then our own domestic U.S. ones here and whichever. So that's coming. So if you're interested in that, keep your ears open. I'll be posting stuff here in the community tab and letting people know, what's going on and how to get involved in it, because like I said, it's all new to me, but hopefully you guys will dig it. You'll dig it. Donna's looking forward to it. It was a lot of fun. Um, they asked me to come in as like a guest to this after party. So the way they have theirs set up, it's pretty cool. And I've already been approached, thankfully, by one of you guys. He's been a member since I started the membership, been the member through the whole thick and thin of 2024, and amazingly still around, supporting it. And he was in this chat and wanted to talk to me. And so I got a text message of, hey, can you come on in? And so I did. And so it was cool to be able to talk to him. But he designs those spaces, like the one with the Devil's Advocates, is they've got it set up where you could have like a drink and you're socializing, and it just sounds like fun. So I'd like to play around with that a little bit and just see what happens, and maybe it'll take off. I can't see it hurting anything unless I say some stupid stuff. I guess that's possible. But yeah, Donna's looking forward. I'm looking forward to it as well. All of us are doing what we do. Hey, Catherine S. is here. All right, we can officially start now that she's here, because she's an amazing supporter. Also been around since the very beginning of doing this. Donna, same thing. You guys are fantastic. So the rule with my lives, we don't play any games. We've got a couple people. Oh, my mom's here. We got to watch it. Got to watch the language. My mom's in the chat. Hello, mother. How you doing? And we don't play any games with problems in the chat, somebody being difficult. I mean, I get the trolls in the comments leaving stuff that's not very pleasant in there sometimes, but I played in a metal band for, well, I did 18 years with Low 12, and then another, you know, 6, maybe 7 with Sacred Oath. So I mean, it was a quite the run for me. But I've been up on stage when you're getting heckled and stuff thrown at you and all of that. So I'm kind of toughened up from all that. I guess it doesn't really bother me, but I don't want it to bother you, and that's why I get upset about it. And that's why the mods know once they start seeing that kind of thing, be careful. Oh, Juan, what's up? My buddy Juan Molina. I'm doing very well, Juan. Get a hold of me sometime. I'd love to see you, and maybe we can get together and hang out. That'd be super cool. But, we got, just a lot going on here. So it's an interesting when you got multiple plates in the air trying to keep it all trying to keep it all rolling. But we just don't need that nonsense and people getting upset and you getting upset wanting to leave because you don't want to deal with it either. So we'll sniff that stuff out and get everything squared away. But Juan's asking how I'm feeling. I get a lot of people asking me about that in the comments, so I do appreciate it. Just quick, I'm doing fine. All healed up. My leg got fitted or measured for the prosthetic, so that's in the works. And I got the thing that you put over the stump shrinker, they call it, and it's like a compression sock, but it keeps it from the swelling to go down further and then be able to fit into the prosthetic. So kind of crazy. But once they get that, then I'll be in some pretty intensive physical therapy to be able to learn how to use it, and then I'll be walking. So that's my plan. And then I'll be able to drive again. I mean, I'll be able to do some stuff I can't do right now. So it's gonna be cool, but I still have the necrotizing fasciitis wound still is healing, and it's about done. And so once that's done, then some other things can happen to make things a lot easier. And it'll be nice to feel like I'm back. The studio is calling. We cleared out the front part of the studio, which is where we've had bands in there playing. It's kind of wild. But we cleared it all out and got it sorted up in there enough to where, my books are all organized and could find stuff out there again. It was a disaster from a year of just sitting there. And I was amazingly in the process of cleaning it out when all that happened, because I had ordered different things. I had ordered cable ties for the studio. I was going to go in there and clean it out and get everything all cable tied up and tightened up in there. And then I got all that news that dropped on my head a year ago. And so that did not happen. So I was set up for this already. So it made it a little bit easier. But thanks to my friend Dave for helping me out on that. He's been doing a great job, and he's a home caregiver that helps me here and comes once a week, and we have different projects for him, and that was one. So he wanted to get me back in the studio. That one picture I posted of me in the studio the other day was a picture that Dave took with his phone when I got back there, because I got back there with the scooter. I didn't know if I was going to make it, but I wanted to give it a try. So I went in there and was just real careful and got right behind the table and then just pivoted the seat to face the camera, and boom, that's where that picture was taken. So I could totally do it. It's not a problem. It's just when I do it, I have to have somebody with me at least on the getting in and getting out of the building itself, because that's still not 100% solid. It will be, but it's not yet. So that's the only part of it that's causing a little bit of a delay. So as soon as I'm in there, it's going to be amazing, to get back into the studio. Here's Glenn's got a cool comment. There's a guy in the flat opposite who has a prosthetic below the knee. He does everything you would never know. Yeah, I've got a friend. He's a maintenance man at a. He's a main. I thought about this the other day when I was thinking about him, with this whole prosthetic stuff. As long as I've known this guy, which is 30 years at least, he's always had the prosthetic. So it was like as a kid, and he's the maintenance man at a housing authority, in the Midwest. And the guy's like crawling under stuff and he's climbing on stuff, and you would never know he had a prosthetic. So, and it just amazes me. So that's cool, Glenn. Thanks for that. I just think that, yeah, I'm sure Glenn's in the UK, Ma. I'm guessing with the flat thing, but maybe not. I don't know if they call them flats in other places, but very cool. But yeah, so that's some of the stuff I wanted to get to, but wanted to get the things about the trolls and stuff out of the way, so we weren't going to be tied down with any of that stuff. So let's see. So yeah, as soon as the Discord is up and running, I'll let you guys know. And once I get with that guy that designs them, I'll know the ins and outs of how it's going to work, again, because I've only been on them once, and it was really cool though. I liked the way they did it. They ran it through StreamYard, so you could see certain people in the video, but then you could hear the rest of it. It was really cool. It's definitely unique. And all the gamers out there are like, yeah, old man, we've been doing that for years. I actually did have one set up because my son's super into gaming, and he's told me about it. I've heard it on, I don't know if it was last podcast on the left or somewhere I heard it. Maybe Dan Cummins, but and heard about it and was like, what? I didn't know what it was, and then checked it out and signed up for an account, but apparently it didn't flag me already having one. So I don't know, what I would have done the name under. It's hard to say, many years ago, but so nonetheless, glad to be in with the new stuff as much as I can. And AR Hayes, a Convict's Thoughts, he's already on there, and Unfiltered Lucky is there, and Devil's Advocates are there, and pretty much everybody's going to that platform as well. So that's cool. And the thing is, you'd hate to think of the worst, but if anything ever went down here, on this platform with taking, me down or anything like that, there would be another place to go, to be able to continue our, community. So that's why, if once I get all this rolling, I definitely would advise you go ahead and set up. It's free. It doesn't take but a minute, and then you're on there, and it's just cool. You could design it where you don't get notifications, or you can, and then it shows you like text messages, and you could go on there and reply to people, and I'm sure set it to where you don't want to reply anymore or what have you. So, all right. If anybody wants to leave any sort of tip or donation, I know I get people that ask me about it. You could do it a variety of ways. Super chat, if you want to do that way. Also, I'll have that creeper at the bottom with the PayPal and Cash App info. So if you want to do it that way, that's fine. If you just want to hang out and be part of it, that's fine too. It all helps. So I appreciate that very much, very much. All right. So topics of the day. So wanted to get to this one first because I knew that there was going to be a lot of stuff to be discussed. But how many of you guys out there were watching or, been checking out information on this new response from the judge about the alternative perpetrators? What do you guys think about that? Curious to see what you got to say. So stew on that. Throw me up some comments of what do you guys think about what you saw about that. But while I'm doing that, Glenn says your boy AR and Lucky are the three kings, in my opinion. Getting into Devil's Advocate lately too. Very cool, very cool. So our friend Glenn from Broadstairs Deep. I gotta say, Glenn, you guys have the coolest names for towns ever. Ever. As a writer, it's like a dream hearing some of those town names. But that's great. That's great stuff. I love the English names. They're just so cool. So cool. I said a story I wrote in my last collection of short stories, but I had never written a vampire story before, so I thought I would do one. And I had it, or it was no, it wasn't it was the body snatching, the grave robbers. That's what it was, not vampires, but a grave robber story called "Death of a." Oh, what the heck was it? I'm losing it there for a second, but it was a short story that I wrote that it was set in England. I had it set in Sheffield, England, because there was a medical school there, and I needed it to be in conjunction with a university and a school or medical, so that this way this guy could pull off what he was doing, which was taking the bodies and or killing people and then giving them to the grave, the people that were taking money for bodies back in the, the day when they were doing, live autopsies, basically. Death of a Resurrection Man. That's the name of the story. I knew it would hit me, but it's in Creation of Chaos 4. That's my latest short story collection, but I set it in early 1800s in Sheffield, England, and I had maps of what it looked like at the time with the street names. So all the locations I use are on like real places and streets, and I went all out. I do that with my stories. I really get into them. So, but Death of a Resurrection Man, yeah, that was a good one. And so yeah, I love the town names, the street names, the people's names are classic. So yeah, good stuff over there. Good stuff. So here we go. Voice of Astrology. Let's see what she's got to say. I'm so fed up with the judge. Yeah, join the club for sure. I reached out to Paul Holes. He is a DNA expert, instrumental in solving the Golden Gate Killer. Have you heard of him? Yeah, definitely the Golden State Killer, I think, is that, unless you're talking about somebody else, the Golden State Killer, Joe was his last name, unfortunately an Italian name. But he was the one they caught with the the genealogy and all that, and I think that's awesome, and that's why this whole stuff with Koberger is very controversial because it's how they got it and what they did with it once they got it. That's just very questionable to me and a lot of us here. But I'm curious what Paul Holes would say, or any of these guys that do that kind of stuff. I know I referenced that interview I did with the Australian federal police officer, but he had quite a bit of knowledge about DNA and testing and how they do it in Australia. And I had somebody in the comments, and I don't ever shy away from negative comments because, you know, I'm not above making a mistake. I'd rather know that I made a mistake and get it corrected than to just go on thinking it's right. But nonetheless, this person was all, was saying that I was totally wrong with the DNA, transfer DNA, and that it's accepted, pretty much all over the place, and that's not anything what I've heard. I do know from this individual that knows what there is to know about the Australian, police system, is that they're equivalent of our FBI basically, and he said that if it's on a transferable item, like a sheath would be transferable. We're not talking about a bed. We're not talking about a dresser. We're talking about a knife sheath. If it's a transferable item, it's not allowed as evidence because it could have too easily been put there after the fact, and they don't allow it. So whoever that was, again, I'm not getting upset. I'm just saying that is the truth. That, as well as I know, that still is the way they do it there. So, and I would think until the technology gets better, it's probably going to stay there because we have to be able to get it accurate because we got a person's life in our hands here. This is ridiculous to be playing games with that. And I can't imagine being in his situation if he is innocent and freaking out like, oh my gosh. But if he's guilty, I've said it in the beginning, is hang him high. I'm done with it. I mean, whoever did it, I don't care if he did it or not. I just want to make sure the guy's given a fair voice and a fair shot. It's obviously so lopsided. I saw somebody in the comments last night who said, and again, I welcome the dissent. Messages are fine. Said, you're so pro burger that I just can't deal with it anymore, or something like that. So, okay, that's the way it is. I know that's how I am when it comes to channels that I like that maybe are very anti Koberger. Is I'm fine with that as long as it's done in a tasteful way. But when it's a pile on type thing and ridiculing, then it just gets stupid. And we're not here for that reason, you know. So the other one thing that I did learn, I didn't know this, I just don't know how it got by me, but that Hitler, his background for as a judge is for medical malpractice. So you want to tell me what business does this guy have being the judge for a huge, quadruple homicide trial with a person's life on the line, and he's being brought in. I mean, it does seem awfully like the fix is in, like the fix is in, and he's somehow been told to do whatever you got to do. I mean, this is smelling so much like Delphi, it's not even funny. And that's really not a good thing. I mean, I know we have some people here that followed the Delphi case. I followed it. I'm in the Midwest, so I definitely was following it. And we know, you know, that there's so many similarities between the two. I mean, really weird similarities. Like one of the, I think it was the founder. It was somebody prominent in the beginning of that community in Delphi, Indiana, with the last name of Mabbott, spelled the same way. Now, I know that doesn't probably have anything to do with anything, but odd that a person with a very unique last name would have significance in both of those communities, just all sorts of weird stuff like that. But the case itself, very similar, in my opinion. Wrong person put into, in prison, especially there. It's over with. He's in prison now. He's doing his time. But in my opinion, there was less evidence against him than there was uh, for what they claim they have, at least on Koberger. So that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I see Sherry says she followed Delphi. Um, so yeah, he was a malpractice. What I see my mom in the chat asking about the malpractice. He was a judge over cases involving medical malpractice. So there were, he was a judge. There was cases going on, but that was his thing. So he goes from that to this, murder trial. Definitely not the same thing. So yeah, um, looking good. Seeing more people coming in. Crime Tech Explorer, very cool. So yeah, we've got we got the crowd coming in here today. Very, very cool. But it doesn't seem right the way they're doing this, and it's smelling so much like Delphi. That Judge Gull, what was it? Seagull was it, or Catherine Seagull, or whatever? Yeah, her middle initial was C, last name Gull. That's just too funny. And then you had the judge in Idaho. So you have all these weird things with names and a lot of similarities in the cases. And let's hope that this one doesn't go the way that one did. But because she shut down no cameras, no audio, nothing at all. They shut it down, and let's hope that doesn't happen here because I know a lot of us are really, really excited about being able to see, this trial happen. I hope so because I know now that I'm home, it'll give me something interesting to engage with. And that was actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about is what kind of, I know everybody has their own way of watching trials like that. I mean, they're talking 3 months. So I don't know if I would want to do it every day, but maybe once or twice a week, maybe do a day and have it stream on the channel. But I was curious. I've not really done much of that, but I would totally be down for it if you guys wanted me to do it. Would be to have it stream on the channel and then have my little window there and comment because that's the only way you get to use it. Would be hello Denise, nice to see you too. Sherry, very, very cool. um so yeah, we got, there's ways it can be done, but I don't want to overdo it. I know those are long days, but it might be really interesting and give you an alternate place to watch it, so you're not always watching it the same way. But some of you might prefer that. So you can let me know. I could have guests on too. I mean, I can put all the guests on you want. I've been trying to get a hold of getting back in touch with Catherine Ramsland to have her do something with me. It's been a few years since I interviewed her, and that would be really cool. But I don't know if she's doing them. She's not doing much, and I know she won't talk about the Idaho 4. That's already a deal. And last time I interviewed her, that didn't even happen yet. But the ability to, get her on and talk to her about any true crime would be amazing. She's a really nice lady and unbelievably knowledgeable. You can't watch a true crime documentary without Catherine Ramsland. There she is, from all the different, over her long career, you can see like, wow, look at Catherine's with all, you know, 80s, attire. And then as she's gotten older, but she is just awesome. I follow her on Facebook and she does all sorts of like horseback riding. She owns at least a horse. There may be more than one, but pictures of her with her horse and riding. And then she goes fishing. And she one year pulled out, it was a catfish. It was like bigger than her, and she was standing there holding it up. And yeah, she's a spunky lady, but she's real small and super nice though, super nice. But oh, I see Hoppers here says he would give it a goo. Would certainly love to watch from Wales. Very cool. Yeah, I think that would be cool. All right, so what else about this? The request from the defense, which was to introduce the alternative perpetrators, and it got denied because the judge said that there was not enough evidence provided. Now, here's what I got to say about that. Okay. There's 4 perpetrators listed here, but this thing is so highly redacted that it's ridiculous. You read it and then there's like a whole page of redacted stuff, so you don't know what happened in between. and it's not even professionally, like, using a font or whatever to make it like solid black lines. Looks like they did it with like a marker. It looks ridiculously homemade. It looks like something somebody did in fifth grade, honestly. It's pretty ridiculous. So there's a lot of stuff redacted from it, so we don't know any names or anything like that, which we didn't think, or at least I didn't think we were going to get to know any names. But that would have been cool, but we don't. Now we do know that one of them was a total stranger, apparently, who ran into one of the victims. We don't know who. Could have been any one of them. The girls could have been Ethan. Who knows? And then apparently he went to follow. He was going to go talk to her, and then I guess decided against it and walked away. And then she kind of got creepy vibes, so she went to the police, and they found him on surveillance, and then they were able to track him down. Apparently, cleared him, DNA and all of that, fingerprints. So don't believe he has any involvement, but that was certainly, an interesting incident. I'd heard about something like that. We all know that there was the rumors that she was getting stalked. So apparently that was true, and that the person, whoever it was somebody that none of us would know about, following the case. It wasn't one of the household names, so to speak. So it was just a stranger apparently saw her shopping, or one of them shopping. Now, the interesting thing with the other three, okay, they all had social contact with one or more of the victims. Okay, that's significant. Okay, we've talked about an awful lot of people here on Murder Metal Mayhem, Harsh, A.R. Hayes, Unfiltered Lucky, everybody doing this has talked about all the people, right? All the different people associated with this story. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen a case where so many different people in the mix that they knew that came over the house, like people they really knew, were suspicious. Never seen anything like it. Never. So with this one, you had a lot of possibilities. So we're, pretty high, at a heightened sense of urgency to know who these people were. But the other had three of them had social contact with one or more of the victims, knew the house layout. So not only were they friends with them, but they knew the house enough to know the layout. And it was kind of a strange layout. I know the first thing I noticed about the house when I saw the the footage, the video stuff, was what a weirdly shaped house. The way it goes up that hill like that, very odd. I'm not sure if that's common with architecture in that part of the country, but here, I used to be a building inspector for years, and that certainly was like nothing I had ever seen before. So that was really really odd. But that's what struck me right at first. So the fact that they were able to figure out, the layout of the building or the house is, I thought, a very unique thing, and not just anybody that is going to know the layout of your house. Okay, and and then all three of them also had social contact with them all the night before. So not only did they know these people, not only did these people know the layout of their house, but they were also with them at some point that night before in a social gathering. So basically, the Sigma Chi party or the corner club, right? Maybe Grub Truck. I don't know if you what you'd consider that, but those three locations is where they were. Now, if they were in other places, we don't know. That's always been a suspicion with people is, did they know? Did they know more than what they're letting on? Is there more to the story here? I don't know. But what do you guys think I like this comment here. I just came back to the chat here. Um, there were 3 unidentified male DNAs at the scene. So, yeah. So, why don't we start with that? I have said this over and over. It's just ridiculous to me that there would be any reason to not have the DNA tested and analyzed at every sample you take at a scene involving a homicide. I mean, seriously, it doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. So, it's the kind of thing where, I don't know what else there is to say about it. I mean, if a person doesn't understand that, then there's something wrong. I mean, what would be the only excuse I could think of to not have analyzed those samples are that somebody lost them or somebody decided to save a few bucks and not have those certain samples analyzed. That seems very strange. So that doesn't make sense. So we know in this case, if it doesn't make sense, then we need to move to something else because there's no making sense of it, but we're going to put a little bookmark there, right? We're going to leave something there to be able to find it later because that's just odd. Okay. It just doesn't make any sense that somebody would not want to have all those analyzed. So they're hiding something. They're hiding something. There's no other explanation of why those DNA samples haven't been analyzed um, than than that. And here, Crime Tech Explorer further weighing in. I'm glad you did this because it's like perfectly with what I was just saying. Payne's excuse for not testing the 3 DNAs is that he thought he would lose BK's sample or file in the CODIS if he searched the other DNAs. Yeah, I've heard that too. That's the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard. And if he honestly believed that, honestly, as a detective in a case of that magnitude, then what he should have done right after he said that is take his damn badge off, his gun, his ID card, and get the hell out of the police station and leave the department. Go be a farmer or something, dude. That's ridiculous. There's no way that makes any sense. Just like we were talking about with the why wouldn't you test all the DNA? Same thing here. Why would Payne say that? That's obviously wrong. There's no way, There's no way that he would not know that. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like he doesn't understand how computers work. I mean, give me a break. The guy has a degree. I think he's got a master's, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember what it's in, though, but he's not a dumb guy. Okay. We may not like him a whole lot, but he's not a dumb guy. All right. So that's why some of this stuff is like, you didn't think people were going to question that? Like, why would you even say it and know in the day and age we live in, we can find all this stuff out? It just blows my mind how they just keep spitting this crap out. I mean, I can't even watch anything mainstream on this. It's so bad. I mean, just so bad. So, yeah. And, see, somebody else had a comment I wanted to throw up here. Okay, here's one. That Carrie laughed said, I heard on another channel, I can't remember which one, but he said the other suspects, BK, is claiming third party that they gave their DNA and they've been ruled out. I did read that their DNA was taken, but I don't know if they've been able to compare it to anything. Did they find any of their DNA there or not? That's what I would like to know is okay, so you took the subject's DNA, the 3 of them, And now we're going to check and see if we've got any of their DNA on the scene. So let's say we know, but then let's say we find some DNA and then we could check it against the list plus them and then see if any of those I'm not sure about at what level that's been done. But I did hear that there was DNA evidence that they submitted, which is one of the reasons why in that document it says, that the judge saw that they cooperated, that they gave their DNA, their fingerprints, and then they were not investigated further. But I don't know. I just I once you want to think that the system's supposed to work, and you wonder how much of this kind of stuff is proven that wrong, because this guy sure doesn't seem like he's getting a fair shake. I think they should analyze this again. I don't know what the reason would be to not analyze them unless they were hiding somebody. So who are they hiding? What do you guys think? I mean, I'm thinking, maybe it would be the police, maybe somebody on the department, maybe a couple people on the department, right? Who knows? It's certainly possible. I think you might have, all sorts of possibilities there. We've heard the names. Okay, let me see. Tara. Yeah, I'm doing this by myself, so I don't get to see all the. I don't get to see all the other comments. I don't get to read every comment. So if you've commented and I didn't see it, it's just because I didn't see it. No other reason. I'm not filtering anybody out. So go ahead and leave it again, and I'll try to keep an eye out. Okay. But Carrie, that's a good question. I think it's definitely important, right? So I'd love to know at what level was the DNA done? Have they been completely cleared? But we know that there's three unknowns, so that would lead me to believe that if they already know these three exist, then those samples left behind should not include them, if that means that they're unknowns. But does that mean they're unknown because they never tested it, or they tested it and it didn't match anybody? I think it was because they didn't test it. So that's like a tongue twister with this case, for sure, for sure. Transport to terror, I think possible involvement with selling party favors. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I've taken to that. I've been using that now for a couple weeks, party favors. It's just a good way to say the word without saying the word, but not being too like clinical about it. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. The one problem with being able to see really good now is I can't not see the chat. I mean, I know I could completely not see it, but I like seeing it. So, but I find it a little distracting. But I've been seeing this thing when somebody was asking a question and I didn't answer it, and I don't know what her question was. So I'm going to go back a little bit. Um, the judge's order. So here she said she wasn't a guilter, but she's not going to ignore the facts. So there's something before that. Yeah, it looks like a conversation between her and Donna. Okay, so she was saying what we eventually said was that the DNA didn't match the alternative perpetrators. So that's, if that's truly the case, then yes. But just because they didn't find their DNA there doesn't mean that they weren't there. Um, but if that's truly the case, again, we were just talking about that. So I don't know really what we eventually got there. I just think she was trying to voice her opinion. And so I apologize to her for not seeing that. All right. Let's see. What else I want to talk about here? Um, so there's a lot of people. I mean, again, the other three all had social contact with one or more victims, knew the house layout, and had seen them socially the night before. Um, Now, what kills me about that is if we had all of that information on Brian Koberger, then why would we not, feel the same way about these alternative perpetrators? So, all those different ties to the crime or the victims of the crimes are definitely important. But I know that there's been some controversy here just in our own chat about the DNA. So again, if there's DNA that's not been found of theirs, then join the club because there was other people there as well that were, not known because they were untested. Okay, so so yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said about that. Is that they had more evidence against these perpetrators than they did even Brian Koberger. If you, and before I get anybody going crazy on this, if you can say that the DNA, the transfer DNA, is bunk. If the transfer DNA is not going to hold up in our U.S. military, they won't allow it. If it's on a transferable item, they will not allow it in other countries. It's not just Australia, the other countries. We're one of the few that does allow it. And even within the US, not every state allows it. So it's very controversial and it's very dangerous because of the possible transfer of the DNA. I talked about this, I think, in my last couple lives. Lana over at Truth or Transparency, she does some great stuff over there. And she did a video that showed of a study done with a hand and a mannequin hand with material on it that would uh, be like our skin. And they touched the hands like a handshake. And then the real hand went and touched something else. And then they tested it to simulate like the brass button. And the amount of DNA that came up on the brass butt or on their test was very close to the number that came up on the test of the button snap in Moscow. So that would lend it to believe that it was not a direct touch. It was he touched this guy's hand, then this guy's hand touched the button snap. So he could have sold the knife to somebody, let's say, and that person then touched it, and then boom. It could have been something like that, and he shook his hand when they left. I mean, it's that could have been that simple. Okay, so how does that happen? Well, these if it was a well orchestrated setup, there's all kinds of ways that could be done. I'm not going to get all into that right now, but I think there's some definite possibilities of how they could have got him to sell him that knife and to get his DNA on it when they did it. But you know, when you're talking about people that knew them that well, I think there's something there that they needed to be checked out further. But again, with DNA, they should be able to rule them out eventually, like everybody else. But while I'm thinking of it, I got this here to remind myself. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and if you're not a member, we've got we've got 2 tiers now on the membership. So if anybody's interested in that, trying to find. I changed something here and I could not find it. There we go. That's better. Trying to find a banner I'm looking for. Here we go. I meant to put this up earlier. But yeah, if you like the video, please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And if you're interested, we got a membership. The members get some cool perks, little VIP Murder Metal Mayhem. They get the episodes early. They get, a message from me every week of what's going on and new things coming up and stuff like that. Anything new, they get it first. And then, I try to get it out to everybody, but I also want to be able to give them that experience to do that. And then as we start getting the studio ready, I'm going to be taking a lot of pictures out there. So I'll be giving them those pictures, and I'll share some with the group too. And then once the studio is back in action, my plan is to do a full studio tour with the lights on and with the lights off, because with the lights on you can actually see everything, because there's so much stuff on the walls. I mean, all the cool little trinkets and autograph stuff we've gotten, like the guy that played Jason in the first Friday the 13th, he was at a convention we did, and we got a picture signed with him, and Randy from the Trailer Park Boys, and just all sorts of wild stuff. And got the serial killer masks, which are really cool, from Sick Rick Masks. Really, really amazing. The quality is just incredible. But we got Gacy with the clown makeup, got Bundy, Fish, Geen. We got Geen in a zombie mask, so he can take any of the masks and turn them into zombies. And that one, I wanted the zombie one, so we got a zombie Geen. And then H.H. Holmes, Jim Jones. We've got some Eileen Warnos. We got some really good ones, and they're all, as you guys that have watched my video stuff I did last year, I move them around the studio so that you can see them in different, because it's always the same shot, but you could see them on their mounts, because I got mounts all over the walls where you hang them on. It looks really cool. So, and then beneath each one, there's a thing that has something to do with them. So, for example, the Jim Jones one, I just took a Kool-Aid packet, or Flavor Aid actually, because it was really Flavor Aid. A Flavor Aid packet in the frame, and it framed that beneath his picture. And the different ones have different things, like the newspaper when they were captured, stuff like that. It's really cool. And then, of course, the huge Murder Metal Mayhem banner. And then lots of cool studio lights, which is what you see when the video lights go off. Then you'll see all the really wicked lights. I could do multiple colors. I got remotes. And the table itself that the laptop's on has got all sorts of band stickers all over it, and like it should, and all sorts of cool little serial killer bobbleheads and crazy stuff. So it'll be cool. And I'll do the full tour with it lights on and then lights off. So. All right, but that'll be coming up soon, but not quite yet. But we're getting there. All right, so I'm wondering, what do you guys think about the prosecution bringing in witnesses to the fray that are surprised? I know they can't surprise it. They got to let the defense know. But with this DoorDasher, I wonder if that's a kind of a harbinger of stuff to get us to think maybe they do have other witnesses that might come forward. But I'd like to see what you guys have to say. Denise has a comment here at Sandra. Nothing surprises me anymore when it comes down to the corruption in Idaho and Washington. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. It really is. And then that Delphi thing in Indiana. I mean, Indiana, I've never known to have problems like that, but to think that that's really, really concerning here. Let's see what Crime Tech Explorer has to say. There is a place opening in a small town in northern Ohio called Gallion, Ohio. That's one part serial killer museum and has a restaurant that serves serial killer death row final meals. Oh, wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, I'm sure they'll probably do well. Oh, and that's perfect. I don't know. It's in northern Ohio. Sick Rick Masks is near Cleveland. He's in Akron. That would be so cool. I'll have to tell him about this. If he may already know about it, but Rick's Masks would be amazing here to have him there to sell them there, because they would fit the motif. That's for sure. He's done so many of them. But yeah, SIKRIK masks.com. Go check it out. They make them wearable or displayable. So, and that's not an advertisement. I'm just helping my buddy out because he does the Murder Metal Mayhem masks at a good price for us, and we appreciate that very much. He's a good guy. So yeah, that's cool to know that there's a place like that. That's kind of neat. That's kind of like the haunted hamburger there in Jerome, Arizona. Went there with my wife back right before the pandemic started. We were there, and they got all these haunted locations there, and we stayed the night at the haunted hotel, the Jerome Hotel, um, which was fun. And then the haunted hamburger was like this hot man. There was so many people there. It was insane, really busy. The food was okay. It wasn't worth the chaos, but it's right next to that hotel, and it's just an obvious one. People want to go see what's the haunted hamburger about, but it's cool if you ever go to Sedona, Arizona. A lot of people like to go to Sedona. Go take a ride up to Jerome. You'll see some really neat things. And that Jerome Hotel, you could find a website about it. It explains all the ghost stuff. Some people are super into the ghosts, and they got a restaurant in the hotel, which was super nice. My wife and I ate there, and it was very, very nice. But there's all sorts of haunted things there, and cool stories on the wall. You can walk around and look at things. So it's neat. And it's an old building, so I love the architecture in old buildings. So it's just really, really neat. All right. Haunted hamburger. That's right. Voice of astrology. The haunted hamburger. Now, the haunted hamburger ought to owe me and my wife a hamburger apiece for that little plug there, giving them some biz. But it's a cool place. And the Maynard from Tool, he lives there in Jerome, and he has a business there. We went to it. It's like a clothes shop. It was just a interesting, cool. My daughter's boyfriend at the time, he was really into it. We went there for him, and it was just some cool stuff there. And then he's got a vineyard there. That's his main thing. He's got vineyards over there, and he makes wine, and so that's really cool. So he's a big supporter of the area and a big celebrity there. But yeah, it's definitely a beautiful place for sure, for sure. But I think someone was following the girls on social media who they had no idea who this individual was. So definitely, definitely makes sense to me that there could have been somebody else. I mean, we know that there was one, and if there was one, there was probably more than one following them, kind of keeping an eye on them, and whether it was for reasons of what ended up happening to her, because I thought early on that the person that she thought was was stalking her was actually somebody keeping an eye on her, and it very well could be. I mean, maybe it was Jack Decor hiring somebody to keep an eye on her. I mean, I wouldn't put that past him. You know, from things we've heard about Jack, he's definitely the jealous type. Had posted a lot of really negative things about her on social media. Most of that's been scrubbed. So I've not seen any of that kind of stuff. I've heard a lot about it, but I've never seen anything. But yeah, I think that when you've got that kind of stigma, it's hard to get rid of it. You know, it really is hard to get rid of it. But following them on social media, I think if you got one, you got more than one. And, you know, they were attractive young girls, and Ethan was an attractive young guy. So, I mean, it could have been, who knows, right? And with the age we live in now with social media, it would be so easy to creep on people than it ever was before. So it's kind of scary to really think about it. That's where, you know, we hope that our kids and our grandkids don't get there anytime soon. I couldn't imagine my little granddaughter being out there doing that, you know, talking to people and all the bad people that could be out there. You know, you just worry about them. So yeah, I think it's very possible that there's you know, some people that were stalking them on social media. I got one comment I starred here because I wanted to get to it when I had a chance to. From Sandra S. Delphi and Moscow both have a history of corruption and cover ups amongst officials and political backers. The two Patsy victims, easy to set up and plant evidence on. Judges are out of order themselves. Definitely. Definitely. And all I could think of whenever I hear that out of order, Sandra, is that classic I'm out of order. You're out of order. This whole effing courtroom's out of order. That's just classic. That's just classic. I actually wanted to use that in my intro, to be honest with you, because I like it so much. But I knew I'd get all sorts of copyright flags. And I thought, well, I could try to imitate it, but it would probably sound like an idiot. So I thought, well, let me do something else. So that's where the 911 call came in. And then my little grandson doing the Murder Metal Mayhem. A lot of people like that, but he was 3 when he did that. So supporting the cause at 3 years old. That's right. I've used him to model Murder Metal Mayhem merch, you know, and stuff a couple different times. So he likes doing it. He's older now, but back then he was a little one. We could do what we wanted with him. But yeah, both of them have a history of corruption and the cover ups and all these different officials. Anytime you deal with politics, I mean, it's ridiculous. And it doesn't matter what era you're looking at, whether you're looking at, you know, the colonial times up till now, been dealing with, you know, all sorts of stuff like that. Both parties, everybody, it's just a mess. It really is a mess. Um, but then you got, you know, the people find, you know, usually it's that whole follow the money thing. That's why I think in Idaho, I think the problem is that damn university. And I think that university did not want this story above the fold in the newspaper any longer. So it's get somebody arrested, put him in jail, and let's put this thing to bed and get him, you know, convicted and off our chest. But I don't think they ever expected it to become this big of a deal. I think that's what they misunderstood, is that this story was going to catch fire because of the whole 4 victims and the attractive people and all that, and that's the way it works. It's definitely not fair, but it's the way that it works. And we all know with the media, if it bleeds, it leads. So The media is all over it. The media is, they got more than enough skin in the game to you know to take blame for what they do in that regard. But I think that both of those places do have some problems. Um, this planting evidence thing is very concerning to me because as I've said before, I support the police. I support what they do. I know that there's some rogue officers out there, and those officers should be arrested just like anybody else, put on trial just like anybody else, and put in prison if appropriate, or fined, or whatever you're going to do to them. But they need to get them out of there. Okay, so I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm a supporter of them. So I don't like to sit here and say this police cover up, this planted evidence, and all this stuff, because it's terrible. I mean, really. I mean, could you imagine being somewhere and having evidence planted on you? Like, that would be scary, because they could do that to anybody. It's talking about ruining your day. I mean, my gosh. But these two evidence really easy to set up. I mean, Richard Allen over there in Delphi. I mean, that's ridiculous. A shell from a round that wasn't fired, expelled out of the side of the weapon, found under the dirt in the middle of the forest where they found the bodies, but not quite right. It was a little bit away, but that was the scene. But they had already gone through the scene once, cleared it back to the public, or back to the owner, because it was private land, cleared it back to the owner, and then like 2 weeks later sealed it again. And then that's when they found the shell under the dirt. Took the shell out. Like I said, it wasn't a spent round, so there's still a bullet there. But as we know, when weapons expel rounds, they leave little marks on the shell. And so they took it and had it analyzed. Well, when they do that with a fired weapon, there's a lot more markings to be seen and analyzed. With this kind of analysis, it's very shaky and not very accurate, because it's dealing with a very minor amount. And to be able to replicate that with multiple rounds, you know, some consider it junk science. Some consider it completely junk science. So if that's, the case here, then you got evidence, putting this guy in prison for 200 and something years or whatever he got over markings on a shell. So then they go to his house and they serve him, search warrant, and they find he's got the same caliber pistol at his house. Meanwhile, same pistol the police use in that area, apparently, a 40, and he's got the same. They look at the ammunition that weapon expends, and then they compare them, and then that's where they said that they thought it was enough of a match to make it a match. But my problem is you've got an area that was investigated thoroughly, and then you had people coming back in, 2 weeks later to reseal it up again. So what happened in those 2 weeks? Is it out of the realm of possibility that somebody from that side went to that site with a bullet in their pocket and went there and pushed it down under the ground? And then, oh, wow, we found this bullet here. Isn't that amazing? And that was a match. It's suspicious to me. Very suspicious. Especially that science that they used to say that those are the same. It wasn't an uncommon weapon at all. And the judges are out of order, for sure, Sandra. I mean, both of them were terrible. Francis Seagull in Delphi, and then of course we had Judge, and now Judge Hippler. So I don't know, but Delphi was an interesting story. A lot more going on. That you know, we even know about. I'm sure a lot more going on there than what we know. Here we got a comment about being stalked. I missed the one. Jody was responding to the one I think I was going to try to put up there from Pitbull Mama. Sorry, I missed it. I'm looking here to see if I can catch it. So yeah, I mean the idea of them being stalked, especially if there were party favors involved here, you're talking about a lot of money. I mean, so if there was somebody keeping an eye on her, somebody that maybe wanted her to be invited back to the area again conveniently, right? For that weekend of all weekends, Dylan's wanting her bestie to come to a party with her. That's just ridiculously um, the most shady of all shady things going on. Just ridiculous. Just ridiculous. But whenever you involve, party favors and lots of cash, you got corruption, you got people doing all sorts of things they shouldn't be. Like, what about the police? Were the police paid off to keep quiet or at least give them a lookout? Who knows, right? If that was actually a party house and they were keeping stuff there, that's a pretty good possibility that they were there to kind of keep an eye on that place. Honestly, I think that's what Hunter Johnson was doing there. I think he had to have some sort of involvement in the keeping an eye on that place, like from the ground level. And then you had, people obviously above him, because I don't know if he had the smarts to run a, Kool-Aid stand, but he was always there. He was always there. Every body cam video, answering the door. I mean, he was always there. So why was he always there? And his girlfriend lived next door. So, I mean, I could understand it being his girlfriend's place, but why is he at this apartment where these other girls live and his girlfriend's apartment is right there? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And they're all friends. So it's just very strange. Very strange. So, yeah, Pitbull Mama is agreeing with that. Um, she's a big supporter of Murder Metal Mayhem. Thank you, Pitbull Mama. She agrees. Think Hunter was just the security for 1122, the cash and the stash. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, that's a big concern when you got that much money um, in a house full of somewhat unstable people. I mean, unstable to the point they're partying all the time. I mean, I'm sure when they were sober, I mean, Kaylee, they seemingly got good grades. I mean, they were on their way to being, graduating and everything like that. But, at that age, with those inhibitions, they're just going crazy and, probably not trusted enough with what was going on where somebody felt like they needed a male there, and Hunter was the one that they put over there. Probably blended in better. He didn't look, it wasn't as obvious. If they put somebody that looked like me there, then that would be like, okay, what the hell is he doing there? Um, he looks crazy. We don't need him in there. But, yeah, so I think that's what Hunter was doing there. I think that's what Hunter was doing there. So I'm looking here. I got about 10 minutes or so before this will be over with. Um, so, yeah. And then Transport to Terror added, about it being that Hunter being there was somewhat connected to the delay in calling law enforcement. I would agree. I would agree. And those two spots in that 911 call where it sure sounds like there's law enforcement there, um, that definitely makes me wonder what's up with that. Um, were they actually there already? I mean, that's what it sounded like. It didn't sound like it was coming through the phone. It sounded like they were there in the background with their radios going off, and just a couple of seconds each. But that's sure what it sounded like to me, and that makes me concerned that if the police were already there, then that's even more of a reason to think that that 911 call was some rehearsed mess that turned out to come off as so fake. Um, they should have just had one person do it and make it more realistic, but they were, you know, just college kids. I mean, they just didn't know, and that's where I think that all the scrutiny comes in, right? Because it just sounds so fake. It just sounds so fake. All right, I'm going to keep looking for your questions and comments. Um, yeah, and then here Denise says, "Isn't that the entire reason why Jack Showalter was with the girls at the grub truck? Yeah, keeping an eye on them." I had heard it was for Jake, Maddie's boyfriend, Jake Schreiber. He was the boyfriend that was out of town. He doesn't get much scrutiny. I did a video on him. It got a bunch of views. I think a lot of people were curious about him as well. But I did a video a while back on him. I don't remember the details. And if you can hear my dog coughing in the background there, it's not really a cough, although it sounds like a cough. My wife takes amazing care of him and me, and she's been to the vet twice this week. So we're trying to get this figured out with him. But he's a little guy, and he's a rescue, and he's older and having some issues. So thanks though. I saw a couple people ask about him, and his name is Pee Wee. So if you're asking about him, he always comes out here when I do my videos and hangs out like he's like the producer, so he could bite my leg if I do anything out of order, apparently. So, but no, I heard him in the background. I figured somebody was going to ask about that. Um, yeah, here's another comment. Isn't it strange that Hunter goes to grab a kitchen knife? I mean, it is really strange. I mean, what the heck was he doing with the kitchen knife? I mean, was he? I mean, did he think that nobody was going to ask about that? You know, nobody was going to question why you're grabbing a knife, or did he do that to make it seem more believable that he was getting called there? That's my guess. Is he grabbed the knife to make it come off like he was really freaked out that they were calling him and they can't get a response, and they saw somebody at 4 o'clock in the morning. So maybe he thought somebody could still be there. I mean, I don't know. Um, I mean, but I think he was there hours earlier. I think he was there hours earlier. I think, like somebody else said, he's definitely part of that 8 hour delay. He was part of what was going on there. We don't know what, but something was going on there. But the grabbing the knife thing does seem very strange. It does seem very strange if you're just going in there for somebody passed out. I mean, why would you go in there for people that are passed out, with the knife? What are you going to do with that? That doesn't make a whole bunch of sense either. Just very strange. Like everything else in this case, right? Boy, here's a good one for Mary. Lots of questions about this I've seen over the while I've been doing this. Mary is I would like to know how that party night went with Kaylee and Dylan. Did she actually go with her? It was that Friday, right? And then Kaylee decided to stay the weekend and, spend a little time with Maddie, and she showed off the car, and then she was going to leave for Texas. So, what was she doing? I mean, I don't know. It's definitely would be interesting to know where they went, if they really did even go anywhere. We never hear about that. We also never hear about the party the night before at 1122 King Road, because I heard Ashlyn Couch was there. We hardly hear about Ashlyn, the sixth roommate, or is she? Because I've heard some people say she wasn't. All sorts of weirdness. She was there, but she wasn't. She had a lease, but she wasn't living there, or she was living there, but she wasn't. She wasn't living there, but she was on the lease. That's what it is. It's confusing. I mean, it really is. So I'd like to know, why was she, what was she doing there, and how often did she come there, to hang out? Now the dog's doing it like incessantly, just to prove that, yes, he's here with his cough. But it's a cough that's not really a cough. It's hard to explain. So yeah, definitely a lot of shadiness around what really did they do. Um, yeah, this is the same thing I heard, Mary, was that Jake asked Jack S to keep an eye on the girls that night. That's what I'd heard too. Donna, very good here, remembering to remind everybody, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And if you want to drop a comment below, if you're watching on the replay and you want to do that, that helps the video get out there to more. So we've got a few minutes left here. I'll keep going until the bell. Yeah, Denise said not what Ashlyn's mom said. I know. I've heard the same thing, but I've also heard that she was there at a party. But she definitely seemed like she wanted some distance, and I can't blame her. But it does seem very suspicious. I know from talking to A.R. Hayes of A Convict's Thoughts, A.R. has said to me that it's not uncommon for people that deal in party favors to rent a room in a house like that and then not have anybody in the room, and they put their own lock on the room, and then that's where they store their product, and they leave it there just as a stash house. And then I don't know if they would allow the girls to mess with it, or if it was just there and they had to just live there as if nothing had happened. I do find it very odd that several of them had family members with party favor offenses, some that did some prison time for that and worse, like Kaylee's uncle. In there related to that, but it was an ending, so to speak. So I've always heard the first 30 minutes and the last 30 seconds of the last 30 seconds is where they catch you on the saying bad words thing on YouTube. So I don't know. But appreciate you guys coming out. Always fun to do these. I always look forward to them. Yesterday I spent with my little granddaughter, Scarlett Marie. Her mom and dad were moving, and so she was here so we could keep an eye on her while they were busy. And so she was a delight. We'd get a big kick out of her, and my wife and I enjoyed that. So I kept the live flexible because I wasn't sure which day they were going to need us to watch her, and so we watched her yesterday. So doing this today. So tomorrow, or for next weekend, I'm not sure just yet. I know 4th of July is Friday, so happy 4th of July, everybody here in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., just have a beer on us, I guess. And good to see everybody, the Horns High Club, the Mayhem Squad. Got just lots of cool stuff coming up, and want to make sure that you guys get the most bang for your buck here. So thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next live. Take it easy.